Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Sign language is a visual language. There's no writing of sign language.
Yes.
There's no reading of sign language on a page.
Exactly.
If you don't have that foundation of a first language, for the deaf child, sign language, then it's very hard and even very unlikely that you will ever learn a second language and learn to read and write. We don't so much create content as we adapt
Yes.
the content that exists for the curriculum. We will take a storybook that's approved by KICD for use in schools, and we will embed Kenyan Sign Language into a digital version of that storybook. Exposure to a signed language in early years is critical for the deaf learner's learning journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Gichuki Report. I'm your host, Godfrey, Gichuki, and I'm glad you tuned in. Today we are doing a very special program. I am in the office of my guests, who I'm going to be introducing shortly. And so, welcome. And those of you that are following this conversation online, on Elevate TV, Kenya, YouTube, and Facebook page, remember to subscribe and share. Get everybody in the conversation. And I believe you're going to enjoy this conversation. I have a guest with me. He's called Clurman. Clurman is an American. He's going to be telling us more about himself. Welcome to the show, sir. Most welcome. And so before we get started, as usual, I want to give you a background of the conversation. Today we're going to be talking about education technology, how to provide access to special learners. And you know, in the education space, there are a lot of people that actually don't fit the traditional educational model. There are people who are hearing impaired. There are people who are visually impaired. And those are actually very, very special learners, and they need to be provided for, to be brought along. So there is technology, and there is an organization called eKitabu that actually do provide materials and videos and a host of other things. We're going to be hearing more about that. And so this is going to be a very exciting conversation. And as usual, I always tell you that the Gichuki Report is a platform for big, bold, honest conversation on a broad range of subject matters: social, economic, philosophical, politics, and everything in between, theology if need be. And so today we want to look at this education sector is part of our social dynamics in this country. So that's very important. So my guest, like I said, is Clurman. He's an American. He's going to be telling us more about himself. So let's dive into the conversation right away. Welcome again. Very good to have you here and in your office here. So
Karibu sana.
Good, and I can tell you know a bit of Swahili. That's very good. That's very, very good indeed. So let's start from the beginning. I always like starting my guests with asking them to tell us about their story, where they're coming from, you know, your background, career, and how did you get to where you are today?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for gracing our office with your presence and your show. We're excited to have you here. I'll get straight to my background. As you say, I'm American. I wasn't born in America. I was born in Israel, but I was only there for some short time. I grew up in the U.S., in New York and New Jersey. I studied at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and that was a long time ago now. But
Okay.
I think I learned a few things there about the importance of innovation
Okay.
and how technology has the power as a tool to change lives, to bring impact, to solve problems with,
Okay.
with people.
Right.
And for me, the system involves all of us.
Okay.
So when we want to innovate, we need to learn, and we need to learn together.
Okay.
So eKitabu, we founded, my business partner and I, who I met at MIT, we founded eKitabu in 2012
Okay.
and started in Kenya.
Okay.
So headquarters is Nairobi. This is our office. For a long time, for almost 10 years, we had an office, you know Globe Cinema Roundabout, yeah?
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's very noisy,
Yes.
a lot of chaos,
Yes.
sometimes rubber bullets, sometimes tear gas,
All right.
and many, many matatus.
Yes.
So it was noisy. We were in a building there, Paramount Plaza, for almost 10 years with our sister company, an NGO called Digital Divide Data.
Okay.
And during COVID time, we decided, okay, for air quality and just for less chaos, we should try to find a new place to be, and we looked all around. We looked at almost 30 places before we finally settled on this one.
Okay.
And as you can see, it's a very open office. And in eKitabu, we do, everybody works together.
Okay.
So there's a lot of learning that we do on different areas. And now since founding eKitabu in 2012, we're in our 12th year. We've worked in 14 countries of Africa. We have colleagues, a team in Kigali, and colleagues also a team in Lilongwe.
Okay.
So eKitabu is 35 people now.
All right.
And in fact, we were doing some numbers on the team. We are 92% Africans and 8% non-Africans.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Actually, I like that. We're going to come back
Sure.
to the eKitabu story because that's a big story. Back to MIT.
Sure.
You know, some of the guys watching, when you mention MIT, they say that's the big one.
Okay.
You know, that's the Ivy League in the US. I mean, anybody wants to go to MIT. So let me take you back a little
Please.
bit. So you studied in MIT.
Anyway.
Did you do other things before coming into Kenya? I
Yes.
mean, how long have you lived in Nairobi? I mean, in Kenya?
Since 2012.
Okay.
Yes, and my family, we were all here, and now my kids are out at university.
Yes.
So I'm a bit back and forth. Most of the time I'm here in Kenya, but I often go to Rwanda, often go to Malawi. But most of the time I stay in Kenya. Even my wife is in the U.S. right now.
Right.
So if I want to be together with everyone,
Yes.
my son is about to start his 4th year in university.
All
so
right.
I'll go to U.S. This week, and I'll be jet lagged, but at least I'll have some good family time.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Tell us, what's the inspiration behind it? What led to the founding of this,
Yes.
and why did you choose to invest in this particular, area of meeting the community's needs? Yeah, fill us in on that.
My mother's a teacher,
Okay.
and I did do work as a teacher when I finished my undergraduate studies. Not for long, but I've always appreciated teaching. My grandmother also was a teacher.
Right.
My wife's mother, she also is a teacher, and she
Okay.
was a teacher of children with special needs and disabilities.
Okay.
So, that was her lifelong career. My business partner, his mother, is also a teacher of children with special needs and disabilities, and his father is a teacher too. He is a professor at MIT.
Okay.
So we have a lot of teachers
Right.
in us
Yes.
and around us.
Okay.
You're speaking, when we were talking before the show, you were speaking about your own work and strategy as a teacher.
Yes.
I think there's an important connection, don't you, between
Yes.
strategy and teaching. I mean, one of my favorite formulations, which I'd learned at MIT, about what is a leader. The three things that I hold in my mind from a certain MIT professor named Peter Senge is about leadership or leaders. Is a leader is a teacher, a leader is an architect, and a leader is a storyteller.
Okay.
I think those are nice. Those have a lot of meaning for me.
Yeah,
So,
Peter Senge, yeah, I mean, he's a big name in, training on leadership, yes.
system dynamics particularly. And for
okay.
me, in my way of thinking and my approach to things, we're all in a system. We're all in different systems. And systems have boundaries, they have different perspectives, systems have interrelationships. And so how we work together, how we even learn together in a learning organization, well, to me, that's the heart of the project of eKitabu.
All right, excellent, excellent. All right, so I think I like that. You feel as in, the inspiration behind eKitabu and the teaching background. That's an amazing story. And so those of you that are following this conversation, I want to remind you that, you too have a dream, you have something in you, and you can look at, where you're coming from, some of the things that have happened in your life, then you will see the patterns, and every skill you learn can be used to change communities and people. So let's continue on the story of eKitabu. So let's talk about what actually you guys do. I checked out and I realized you create content,
Yes.
For learners. And the whole idea of making sure, for example, people who are hearing impaired are provided for, people who need,
Accessible materials
yeah.
in Braille, for example, for people with visual impairments.
Okay,
Yes.
so tell us about that
Sure.
and, some of the issues. Yeah.
Of course, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 4, inclusive education. It's important, first of all, that learning be accessible.
Okay.
So eKitabu works largely in 3 areas, just to the quick overview of us.
Yeah.
We work in content, as you say.
Yes.
We work to make content accessible.
Okay.
And although you said we create content, and it's true, we do create content, for example, in our sign language studio. We mostly work with the content of local publishers and authors in Kenya. For example, we work very closely with publishers in the Kenya Publishers Association.
Okay.
And in fact, your viewers should know about the Nairobi International Book Fair that's coming at the end of September. And it's going to be very exciting and a lot of fun. We're doing some things there that we've never done before and that I don't think anybody has done before. We can come to that later. But
yes, we come to the book fair. Yes, we'll talk about that.
But we don't so much create content as we adapt
yes.
the content that exists for the curriculum, but other content too, and we adapt it for accessibility.
Okay.
So for example, we will take a storybook that's approved by KSED for use in schools, and we will embed Kenyan Sign Language into a digital version of that storybook. The content that we do, we mainly start with local materials from the publishers in the country where we work.
Okay.
For example, Kenya, for example, Rwanda, for example, Malawi. And there are many publishers, many authors, many storytellers, as you know, all around the continent. And this is something that is really the cornerstone of what we do. It's finding ways to make content move around and get used more.
Okay.
Used more for learning, used more for enjoyment, used more for general good.
Okay.
So the first thing is the content.
Yes.
The second thing is we write software.
Okay.
So we write software. Most of it we release as open source software,
Okay.
and much of it focuses on software for accessibility in the use of teaching and learning materials, the use of digital content. And then the third thing we do is we run programs. So we design programs.
Okay.
We run engagement programs that engage children, that engage parents, that engage government stakeholders, that engage publishers. So we
Yes.
work across public and private sector throughout our programs and across many different countries. As you can see in our office right now, one of our major programs, the digital essay competition that we've run now every year for the past 11 years, this is the 11th running of it,
Okay.
is a national program that we've had. I guess by this year we'll have over 70,000 learners in Kenya, across all 47 counties of Kenya, will have submitted essays in Kiswahili, in English, in German, in French, in Arabic, in Kenyan Sign Language,
Right.
and also written in Braille.
Okay.
These more and more schools in upper primary and also secondary have joined in writing, sharing their original voices and ideas in the digital essay competition that we've run in cooperation with the Ministry of Education now for, this is the 11th year. So content, software, and programs, in a nutshell, that's eKitabu.
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing, amazing. I think I like that. I like, you know, the programming. Some of the young people are very excited about programming, and soon we'll be talking about how people can get involved.
Sure.
So if there are some young people who are, you know, who are gifted, who are looking for opportunity, for example,
Sure.
to do programming, I think that will be very good. So those of you that are watching and following this conversation, there are programs, there are opportunities. I'll make sure that I get hold of his number so that then I can become his broker. So you talk to me, I talk to him, you know, and maybe you can get an opportunity. Anyhow, we're talking about, I love those three areas, you know, basically taking local content
Yes.
and making it more accessible. I think accessibility is a big, you know, need
Yes.
for you know, learners and across the board. So I'm sure you've had some interesting experience, you know, having operated for the last 10 years. What are some of your success stories? You know, some of the things that you've done and you're so excited about. Maybe tell us about that.
Can I say the success story?
Yes.
That I feel strongest about and motivates me every day is really our team.
Mm-hmm.
When people come to visit us and they see our office and they work with colleagues in eKitabu, we generally, people say, wow, this is a really good team. And it's genuine. And they're not saying it to flatter, they're not saying it because they think I want to hear it. They're not just saying it to me either, they'll say it to other colleagues too. And to me that's something very important because we're serious in our work.
Okay.
You used a word earlier in some comments you made about commitment.
Yes.
And in eKitabu, we're generally a pretty committed group of people doing interesting work together. People take a lot of initiative. People do a lot of work in strategy. In fact, that's why I was interested in your teaching in strategy, because in eKitabu, everyone is involved in strategy.
Okay.
Everyone is involved in an annual process, through an annual process that we use to create and review and discuss and share strategy across the company. Every single person, every single employee in eKitabu participates, and it isn't for show. It's a conversation about why are we doing what we're doing, and how's that going to work?
Okay, yeah. And you know, maybe we can dive into that a little bit more because, I mean, people in the church space, by the way, for your information, churches do a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Most churches actually have education institutions, healthcare institutions,
Sure.
and all that, and they need to run them well.
Yes.
So I think I like that particular highlight on, you know, the way you involve people, you create a great team, and then you plan together, you know, and everyone has something to contribute.
And you learn together.
Yes.
Because you do, as you were saying earlier, you make mistakes.
Yes.
Sometimes they're really big.
Yes.
And sometimes they're small. But, you know, leaders in eKitabu, I mean, I think one of the things we figured out, learned together, is that how you behave when you're right about something
Yes.
is important,
Yes.
because people need to know what to do.
Yes.
And it's always helpful when someone does. Like
Yes.
I always say, I don't really need to be right, but when we have to make a decision, I need someone to be right.
Yes.
So, and if you start with facts and you work with experience, then you have a good chance of getting things right most of the time.
Yes.
But I also say, and I believe it's true, that it's even more important how you behave when you're wrong,
Yes.
or when you're proven wrong, or even when you think you might be wrong. How you behave then, I think, is even more important as a leader than how you behave when you're sure you're right. Because so many leaders, they think they're right. I guess we think we're right just because we're the leader.
Yes, yes, and sometimes leaders get things very wrong. How do you see, you know, education shaping in Africa? I know I'm asking a much broader question, but I think it's important for us. You've been now in the education space
Yes.
in this part of the world,
Yes.
and touching different
Sure.
African countries.
Sure.
How is that shaping?
I think the perspective of teachers
Yes.
is central to the changes in the system that are possible.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I see education systems in the places where we work, and it's only in the continent, only in Africa.
Mhm.
I see teachers becoming learners.
Right.
Certainly there are many teachers who are older. In fact, we've been doing research in Kenya in the schools for children with disabilities, or even the schools where children with disabilities are located. Because in Kenya, the children with disabilities are located in special schools, but also in special units that are attached to mainstream schools.
Okay.
And then they're also located in mainstream schools. So
Okay.
we've been doing research with the Ministry of Education, with Director Haga in the Directorate of Special Needs Education, to understand what is the so-called e-readiness of schools where children with disabilities are located in the system.
Okay.
What assistive technologies do they have? What are the capabilities of teachers to support learners with disabilities with or without technology?
Okay.
We're learning a lot. One of the things that we're learning is, wow, there are a lot of really old teachers in the schools,
Yes.
and so there must be a lot of wisdom there.
Yes.
We're also finding out that in some places, the teachers don't have much experience with children with disabilities.
Okay.
And as anybody who knows who has a child with a disability or who has worked as a teacher in a setting where children with disabilities are, you need patience, you need experience, you need time. You need to give time to that learner and to the learning process in ways that are demanding.
Exactly.
Personally, I could say spiritually, and certainly just in terms of time. So what we try to do is we try to bring support to teachers. And when we do that, when we do that, sometimes we make a relationship.
Yes.
And I think, and this is, I'm coming back around to this idea of teachers becoming learners.
Yes.
I think that at any age, when we find teachers who are willing to walk together with us in a learning journey, then we make a bond. And we always know, and I need to say this, because we work in many places, and I can say honestly, we're still figuring out how best to bring support. We don't like to disappear, but we meet people, we spend time with people, and so we always try to find ways to make that relationship last, to make it grow, to make the person feel supported, to make them feel like we're walking together. You know, I mean, my favorite Kenyan proverb, and I thought it was all across the continent, but
Yes.
I've heard it more in East Africa than I've heard it in other places.
Yes.
If you want to go fast,
Yes.
go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yes.
And in eKitabu, we always believe in going together, because when we go together, we learn together. And when you ask me about what I see shifting, how I see things changing on the continent in education, I see more and more teachers becoming learners. And to me, that's something very profound.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a short break. I'm sure you're following this conversation. Very, very interesting conversation on the role of technology, systems, and how you can make a difference. And we're going to return to this conversation on how you as a teacher or somebody who has a stake in education can actually learn more. There is so much that needs to be done if you're going to have an impact in the education space. So let's take a short break. We're coming back to this conversation. Don't go away.
Apostle David and Pastor Asunta Juma invites you to the Assembly 2023. This is a joint family service for Life Church International and affiliates, but also open to the body of Christ. This year's assembly takes place on 27th August 2023, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Moi Educational Center, Mai Mahi Road, Nairobi West. The theme of the meeting is drawn from 1 John chapter 1 verse 3, that you may have fellowship with us. This family service will be broadcasted live on Elevate TV and Life Church International's Facebook and YouTube pages. The Assembly 2023. Come and fellowship with us. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey of faith, knowledge, and service? Look no further than Gospel Light College. We offer a diverse range of programs tailored to your aspirations and calling. For those with a thirst for profound biblical understanding and community development, we present our bachelor's and master's degrees in biblical studies and community development. These programs equip you with the tools to lead and make a positive impact on the world around you. And if you're yearning to become a more effective minister, our certificate in theology and ministry will provide you with the wisdom and skills to serve with compassion and purpose.
At Gospel Light College, we offer academic writing that will help you in your communication skills. We also offer Greek classes.
Enroll at Gospel Light College this September intake and join our thriving community of scholars, change makers, and believers. For more information and to secure your place, call 0748 006112. Gospel Light College, a Christ-like worker for a Christ-like church.
Welcome back. This is the Gigi Report. We are talking about technology in education and how you can make a difference, how this, you can provide access to people who have learning needs, and how actually we can use technology and to empower both the learners and the teachers. And before we went to the break, my friend Will, we were talking about the whole idea of teachers being learners and some of the things actually you've picked up and learned. The whole idea of working as a team, actually you quoted a proverb and you reckon it's kind of Kenyan or East African. If you want to run, to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with everyone. Absolutely. So let's talk about, what you have seen in terms of teachers' willingness to learn. Because, and you reckon that you did some bit of study, you did some of the research work in this about teachers, and you found actually that there are a lot of old, or rather, not young, but older,
nearing retirement age.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so talk about how, are you able to engage these teachers in learning new ideas, and are they open to shifting the way they actually do their classwork and stuff like, because these are tradition.
Sure.
Yes. Tell us more about that.
It depends on the person.
Okay.
It very much depends on the person. I mean, we like old people. We like young people. We have many young people on our team, but we also have a good number of older people too. And in fact, we need to look at the numbers on age distribution in eKitabu. I mentioned at the start something about eKitabu people, but we're also 56% women and 44% men. We're 14% people with disabilities across the team, and 25% of our leaders are people with disabilities. Okay. So we're a bit inclusive even in the team that we have, but I need to check ages. I think we do. It seems like we've got a lot of young people, but at the same time we have a number of people who are older. like me,
Yes.
like you,
Yes.
and like some of these teachers you see behind me.
Yes.
My colleague Kachipela, Doris, who's sitting over there, she was the deputy principal at Olympic Primary for many years, and she's a Kiswahili teacher. And Doris is always learning. That's Doris right there.
All right.
She's always learning.
Okay.
And
Okay.
So, so some people are very motivated to learn more and learn more together. And those are the people we love most, because we find it's quick to bond with them. We find we make a relationship well, and we go together.
Absolutely. I love that. Olympic Primary School is very famous. It's located in Kibra.
Yeah.
And, getting a teacher into this program, the eKitabu program, from Olympic, having done that. That's a big plus. What's happening in Malawi? What's happening in Rwanda? How is
Sure.
eKitabu, faring in those areas? And tell us a little bit more about that.
My colleague Betty Wisiki in Malawi, she is one of the best sign language interpreters in Malawian Sign Language in the country. She's one of the better sign language interpreters. She's a hearing person, but she's very involved in the deaf community. The Malawi National Association of the Deaf considers her their sister.
Yes.
And in fact, the people from Malawi National Association of the Deaf, they frequently work with us in our office.
Okay.
So the work we're doing in deaf education, the learning we're doing with the deaf community,
Yes.
In terms of storytelling in Malawian Sign Language, I think is very interesting, it's very rich, and it's very important work.
Okay.
We're working also with the Ministry of Gender, under which the Ministry of Disability sits, and we're working with them. It's moving slowly, but I think we're making progress in a project to bring more accessible learning materials to deaf learners in schools.
Okay.
Similarly, in Rwanda, because you asked about both,
Yeah.
a deaf colleague in our team, Nadia, she is working to produce new sign language storytelling materials for children in Rwandan Sign Language and in eKinyarwanda.
Okay.
So the work, I mean, the video production work is really interesting. I mean, you and your team, you do a lot of work in video, obviously.
Yes.
The power of video is interesting, but also the accessibility of it, particularly for deaf people who are not working in a hearing. They're not working with audio.
Yes.
They're working with visual language.
Yes.
And so
Yes. Yes.
the critical, we were speaking of research earlier,
Yeah.
the critical common thread here is, for learning, you need to create a language-rich environment.
Okay.
And when deaf children don't have access to sign language,
Yes.
people think they are not intelligent.
Yes.
People think they are slow. People think all sorts of things that have nothing to do with deafness.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stigma.
Yes.
There's a lot of misunderstanding of what deaf people can do in the world, in life, in society. And people like Nadia, people like our colleague Georgina Uma in Kenya, and Vincent Owino, these are deaf people in our team in Nairobi. They are changing those perceptions
Right.
by creating sign language rich environments across all of the countries where we work, so that learners who are deaf can communicate in, can I say, mother tongue?
Yes.
Because for a deaf learner, sign language is the first language. And without that first language, they don't get to go on a learning journey. So it's critical to have early exposure to sign language. And research from everywhere
Yes.
bears this out.
Okay.
That exposure to a signed language in early years is critical for the deaf learner's learning journey. And the
Okay.
work we're doing in Malawi and the work that we're doing in Rwanda in that area is it's certainly the most fun work that we do, because it's full of life. It's full of original energy and the richness of communication. So to me, you asked about Malawi and Rwanda. Those are two things that we're really excited about doing in both those countries, and it also connects us as one team with Kenya.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And I think you've brought in a very important perspective. The whole idea of, language. Language is really the tool, that really creates a society. So without language, if somebody is actually not able to, speak and communicate, that means it's so exclusive. It excludes us, that person completely. So there's something else I think some of our viewers might not know. When you talk about, say, Kenyan Sign Language,
Sure.
Rwandan Sign
Yes.
Language, Malawian Sign Language,
Yes.
why are there different genres or whatever, like the way we have tribes with different languages?
Yes. Why are there different tribes, and why do the tribes have different languages?
Yes.
Maybe you speak Kikuyu. I don't know. Maybe you speak Doluo.
Yes.
But there's many languages in many places.
Yes.
And sign language is no different.
Okay.
People sometimes have a misperception, a misunderstanding that there's some sign language is somehow universal. It's not.
Okay.
Every place has its own local sign language. Every country has its own national sign language. Some countries, like Kenya, recognize their national sign language even in the Constitution. In the Constitution of Kenya, Kenyan Sign Language is recognized as a national language of Kenya.
Okay.
Other countries, they haven't recognized their national sign language. So there's a fight. There's an advocacy battle
Okay.
to get recognition for that national sign language. For example, in Rwanda, Rwanda National Union of the Deaf, RNUD, has been working for many years now to advance the cause of getting Rwandan Sign Language recognized as a national language, because only if it's recognized as a national language
Yes.
can it then be used as a language of instruction in schools.
Okay.
And as we were talking about earlier, if the deaf learner has no exposure to sign language, even proper sign language with instructional support and a community where people are using that same language, then the deaf learner not only can't communicate, is excluded from
Yes.
participation in society,
Yes.
but also that deaf learner is very unlikely to progress in the education system.
Yes.
So when you learn to read, or when I learned to read, maybe our mothers, maybe our dads, they read to us.
Yes.
And they read to us from books, and they were speaking.
Yes.
And we were learning to read even as we were learning to speak.
Exactly.
And our cognitive development, as you say, was molded by language and the linguistic communities that we were part of.
Okay.
Well, for the deaf child, reading is out there,
Okay. Okay.
because sign language, without a first language,
Yes.
the deaf child doesn't get that mother tongue
Okay.
and then can't learn to read and write in a second language. When did you learn your second language?
Yeah, I think I was growing up. I had to go to school,
So
even to learn to write.
Yes.
For example, in Kikuyu.
Okay.
I grew up in Mount Kenya, so
sure.
my mother tongue is Kikuyu.
Yes.
So even learning Kikuyu itself, and thank God there were books that had already been written
Ngugi
out.
wa Thiong'o, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah. Gugu Adhiong wrote the novels.
Yes.
But the first, lower level book, there was
storybooks. Yes.
storybooks.
Yes.
And just simple stories and lines.
Yes.
So, and plus, of course, learning the album. But I can remember it was a very interesting way of learning.
Yes.
You learned simple things, and then you built that.
Sure.
And now I can read the Bible or any book
Yes.
in Kikuyu language.
Wow.
And I enjoy it, and I I
Yes.
know how to communicate.
Yes.
So if I needed to write something in Kikuyu, I can.
Yes.
And if something is written in Kikuyu, I can. So I think, like you're saying, we take that for granted.
Yes.
It's a social tool.
Yes.
I can connect with everybody who shares that
Yes.
language.
Yes.
So you're saying in the same way, sign language itself is like that mother tongue.
Yes.
So
But then to learn to read and write is a farther journey,
Yes,
a farther
yes.
step in
Ex-
that learning process. Because when you're sign language is a visual language. There's no writing of sign language.
Yes.
There's no reading of sign language on a page.
Yes.
There's only sign language communication.
Yes.
You can see a video where someone is using sign language to communicate.
Yes.
But if you're going to learn to read and write, whether it's the Bible or any book, if you're learning to read in Kikuyu, or you're learning to read in Kiswahili, or you're learning to read in English,
Yes.
then that's a second language for you.
Okay.
And so mother tongue forms those foundations of language learning, expression, communication, and even symbolic understanding of the words and the letters on a page.
Exactly.
If you don't have that foundation of a first language, for the deaf child, sign language, then it's very hard and even very unlikely that you will ever learn a second language and learn to read and write, which are the gateways to progression in education and society.
Absolutely. All right, so thank you so much, and we must commend your organization, eKitabu. You know, you provide that, you know, extra, you plug in into that space to ensure, for example, that storybooks are converted
Yes.
into sign language. They are read out.
Yes.
It's a signer.
Yes.
You know, kind of like.
But even the books themselves, even the books for hearing children, it's so important that people have access to,
Yes,
to
yes.
stories, to storytelling, and to the engagement of learning with your mom, learning with your dad, learning with your uncle, learning with your sister, learning with your teacher. And,
Absolutely.
and books make all that possible. I want to make sure that you and your viewers will come to the Nairobi Book Fair.
Actually, I was going to come to
Yes.
that. Now we can talk about the book side of
Yes.
things. eKitabu, you kind of partner. Tell us about how you connected with publishers.
Sure.
And then also we can talk about the book fair
Yes.
that's coming in September, end of September.
Yes.
Yes, so let's talk about that.
Fine, thank you. So, yes, eKitabu for many years, even since the beginning of eKitabu in 2012, we have worked closely with Kenyan publishers
Okay.
and the Kenyan Publishers Association. We're very proud to be a member of the Kenya Publishers Association. Kamau Kiarie is the chairman. He's also the managing director of East African Educational Publishers. Of course, EAEP is, can I say, the foundation stone of
Yes.
African publishing.
Yes.
Dr. Chakava really is the dean of African publishing and recognized that way across the continent.
Yes.
So EAEP has a really important legacy in publishing not just classics of African literature, but even new books today that are exciting and fun for kids. I mean, one of the things that we're doing at the book fair at the end of September, so it's September 27th through October 1st at Sarit Center.
Yes.
And on Saturday the 30th, there'll be a family fun day. And there'll
Okay.
be all sorts of surprising and exciting things that happen there, I can promise you.
Yes, yes.
One of the things that we love to do with publishers is we love to focus on the exciting titles that they have. Because as I mentioned, eKitabu, we're not a publisher.
Yes.
We work in accessibility and we work in moving content around, in
Okay.
distribution.
Yes.
So one of the wonderful titles that EAEP has been producing now for the past year or two is called Super Lisu. It's about a girl who is a superhero,
Right.
and she's a Kenyan girl.
Yeah.
She hates her hair because it's African hair, and she feels like it's steel wool, and she has a hard time maintaining it.
Yes.
And it makes her nuts until she finds out that her superpower comes from her hair. Yeah, and I think Lisu is hair in Luya.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why she's Super Lisu.
Yeah.
And the first book was just called Super Lisu. The second book came out last year, or at the start of this year. No, it came out at Christmas time last year.
Yeah.
And it was Super Lisu and the Locust Attack. These are
Okay.
graphic novels.
Yes.
They're really cool.
Yes.
And she has, of course, her friends, and they stand up to bullies, and it's cool. It's fun, and it's kind of edgy, but it's got a lot of life in it. It's got a lot of, and I think we've done a lot of activities with kids reading Super Lisu. Actually, deaf kids, hearing kids, blind kids, all sorts of kids.
Yes.
And everybody really enjoys the stories. They're saying that there's a third book coming out, a third in the Super Lisu series,
Yes.
coming out in September. We'll see, but if things work out, maybe we'll be able to do a sneak preview at the book fair.
Okay, of the Super
of the
Lisu.
new Super Lisu storybook.
Absolutely.
So then Saturday on the Family Fun Day, or maybe even Wednesday the book fair opens. By the way, it's the same week as International Week of Deaf People.
Okay.
All over the world. International Day of Sign Languages is the 23rd, and that begins Kenya's International Week of Deaf People. We work closely with the Kenya National Association of the Deaf, and KNAD will be with us at the book fair, and we'll be doing interviews in sign language. We'll be doing sign language video production in a studio that we build at the book fair.
Right.
And I think it should be a lot of fun, a lot of cool things. So please welcome your viewers. We'd be most happy to have them come and enjoy all the activities with us.
Yeah. I'm going to be talking to them. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Some of your churches, they should get involved. There's this book fair coming up in September, last week of September, and very exciting. And it's important that you get involved in this and get to see the world of difference it makes, when you can make sure that learning is available, the stories reach to every single kid, whatever their level of disability. And so that's a very, very important thing, and I love the excitement about the, we never get to hear some of these stories, about people writing small, super books, sort of,
Yes.
that are capturing local stories.
Yes.
These things never get said. They don't come in the main line. Because, it's not celebrity stuff. It's just stories about children learning and
being kids.
And being kids.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing. And so that's good. Then the other thing I think we didn't mention, but we mentioned at the beginning, is the competition.
Yes.
Are you going to be awarding during the fair?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, it sounds like we have well over 10,000 essays this year.
Yes.
In all different languages of Kenya, including Kenyan Sign Language, including written in Braille, and we will be doing the prize giving as we do every year at the book fair with parents, with teachers, with the ministry, and we give scholarship funds every year to the winners. Also, everybody gets certificates, the finalists, the winners, everybody gets feedback. They get computing devices. So it's a pretty big program that we do also in support of the Ministry of Education and in collaboration with them. And so we love the prize giving that we do every year at the book fair. That will be on Wednesday, 27th. And it just, Godfrey, I hope you can come. You should come too. Because do you like to dance?
Yes, I like to dance. So I guess
we work with these guys, Cheza Dance Foundation, and we love them. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're also from Kibra.
Okay.
But Cheza is a fabulous group, and they always bring down the house.
All right.
There's going to be, I think, on Saturday on the Family Fun Day, there will be some dancing that our friends from Cheza bring to the book fair, and I think it should be pretty amazing. I mean, see, in Africa, there doesn't seem to be a book fair on the continent.
Yes.
That is a place that everybody from the continent can come, both for business stuff, business to business, but also for the cultural and engagement value of reading. And that's with Kenya Publishers Association, that's what we're trying to build. We're trying to build a book fair for the continent. And we're bringing some exciting energy and some ideas to it. We're also bringing friends like Cheza, who, seriously, I hope you can come on Saturday. You have to bring your family because you'll see that it'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And free.
Yeah.
Nobody, if people come to buy books, that's great. But the activities will be free.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Actually, we have just a few minutes before we come to the end of this story. So now, let's talk about, I like people can participate in the book fair and get to engage, get to connect. business to business.
Sure.
If somebody is actually into publishing,
Yes.
they can meet a publisher there. If you've written
true.
some books,
It's true.
and that's wonderful.
Yes.
I attended once, and so I know it's very inspiring, and that's something wonderful. Is there anything else that we are not talking about that before we end this show?
Well, it's been a good I appreciate the conversation.
Yes.
And I appreciate you for your priority on big, bold, and honest, because honest is good. I mean, like, life's too short not to spend time speaking openly.
Yes.
So anything else? Well, I do have high hopes that things through the book fair will change how we are connecting with stories, with content in Kenya
Yes.
and wider. So
Yes.
there's I have, can I say, big hopes
Yes.
for the book fair. And I think we've touched on it several ways, several times. But it's all an experiment,
Yes.
because these things have never been tried to our understanding. It's certainly not in the 10 years. This is the 24th running of the book fair,
Okay.
but this is our 11th time at the Nairobi International Book Fair. So, and the CEO of KPA, James Odhiambo, he also has high hopes for what we can do together, what's possible to make a book fair for the continent.
Yes.
So to me, that's something very interesting and hopeful, and it certainly depends on people engaging.
Absolutely. So what I want you to do, look at that camera and speak to people, some potential book writers, publishers, people who are interested in sharing their stories and their materials and getting everybody included. You have like 30 seconds.
Fine, and you said church people too.
Yes.
So I want to speak to the church people. I hope that, because I know you are readers, I know you care about what's in the books you read, I hope you will bring your heads, your hearts, and your bodies to the book fair, starting Wednesday, September 27th at Sarat Center. It's completely free and open to all people. Saturday will be the family fun day, and we will have many, many activities with our friends at Cheza Cheza. There'll be music, there'll be dance. We're building a giant African tree that I think you should find very exciting and fun. So please come visit us at the book fair.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to bring this conversation to a close. Thank you very much, my friend Will.
Yes.
We know Will Smith, but you are the other Will.
Yes.
And my good friend, he's so passionate about books and making sure everybody is included in learning and using technology and the systems. That's a great conversation. I really think you've learned a lot and you're inspired to get also the traction, the inspiration to get involved in transforming lives. So that's all we had for you, ladies and gentlemen. Until another day for another show like this, keep it Elevate TV. I've been your host, Godfrey Gichuki. And one more time, thank you very much for staying tuned in. We'll see you another day, same time, same channel. God bless you and have a good evening or good day wherever you're watching from. God bless you. Bye.